Hello everyone, and welcome to Capitol Watch for Friday, February 13th, our weekly look at the Missouri General Assembly. And joining us from our governmental relations offices in Jefferson City is our Associate Executive Director for Advocacy and our Chief Lobbyist, Mike Reed. And Mike, once again this week, the big issue before the General Assembly was the student transfer issue, the students transferring from unaccredited school districts. We had bills that moved both on the House and Senate side this week. Tell us about what happened there.
Both the House and the Senate bills are moving very quickly. House Bill 42, sponsored by Representative Wood of Versailles, has a lot of very good points in it. It finished the committee. It went to the Select Committee on Education. They will be voting it out at the end of next week. There are things in it we like. There are a couple things we dislike, but we're working on that right now. That bill has some good potential. It is a workable framework, and it is something that we need to keep looking at. I think that bill will be moving very quickly. On the Senate side, the Senate committee substitute was voted out of committee on Wednesday. The Senate committee substitute has some very troubling language in it. Part of the Senate committee substitute, an amendment that was put on in the committee, would allow open enrollment in virtual schools throughout the state of Missouri. There was a virtual school component in the Senate substitute bill, and it was a workable component. However, this expands virtual education to such an extent that it would cost districts a significant amount of money. According to the sponsor's own figures, if 1% of the students use this, that would be 1% of the students in the entire state of Missouri, it appears, could be probably eligible for this, and that would be in the millions of dollars. The bill has a lot of problems, and we are against Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill number 1 right now. We're not against transfer students. We want to make sure students in Missouri get the best education possible. We want a transfer bill that's workable. However, putting items like expansion of virtual schools throughout the state of Missouri on a transfer bill, we don't think it's appropriate at this time.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, that Senate committee substitute bill, although it does deal mainly with the student transfer issue, as you mentioned, does contain other provisions that our members throughout the state need to be concerned about. For example, accreditation of individual school buildings is in that, isn't it?
Accreditation of individual school buildings is in that. The real question of what happens when an individual school becomes unaccredited, and in fact, can DESE at that point in time, if the individual school becomes unaccredited, put in a special advisory board for that individual school. There's some very troubling things that need to be worked out, and it's more than student transfer.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that bill now, Mike, will go to the Senate floor. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
And it's very important that our members contact their senators and tell them that at this point in time, that bill is not appropriate and is not good for public education in Missouri. It isn't that we're not, again, I'm saying, so people understand, we're not against transfers. We want the transfer situation to be fixed. We want all kids in the state of Missouri to get a good and proper education. We just want to make sure that some kids are not hurt and some districts are not hurt.
Another issue that received some attention this week, Mike, had to do with a proposal. Actually, I think there are several bills on this that would require a new civics education test for Missouri students. What about that?
That's correct. There was a hearing held on a bill that would require every student that graduates from the state of Missouri to have to take the U.S. citizenship test. Listen again where we're saying we're not against the U.S. citizenship test. Presently, the students in the state of Missouri must take a test on the U.S. Constitution, Missouri Constitution, as well as tests on history of the United States and several items on history. This is an extra test, and actually it's throwing out the Missouri Constitution for the U.S. Constitution. We believe a better use would be perhaps to use part of the questions and roll that into the present curriculum that we already have in existence. We have a very good test. If we need to add some more questions from the citizenship test, fine, but let's don't throw out the baby with the bath.
And Mike, another issue this week, of course, an issue we're always concerned about is state funding. There was some movement on that issue over on the House side. What happened there?
Yes, the House committee sent to the House Budget Committee an increase. The governor asked for $50 million. This was an increase to close to $68 million. We really appreciate the fact that they're trying to find as much money as we possibly can. The big problem comes, and the chairman of the committee said he'd like to get more money into it, get to probably the $100 million to the $125 million that is needed to fix the hole that comes about because of the way that the foundation formula will be distributed. It hasn't happened. I know they're going to keep working on that. We appreciate the amount that we got, or that has been recommended, and we really hope that we can find more to make sure that this cliff that we're about to fall off doesn't happen.
And Mike, the issue you're referring to has to do with a provision to an early childhood education bill that was included last year in a piece of legislation that prohibits the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education from prorating formula payments to school districts when the formula is underfunded. It prevents the prorating to what are called the hold harmless districts, and that really poses a problem for some of our districts in the state, doesn't it?
Well, in the end, yes, it says that hold harmless districts shall get their full amount of money. The hold harmless districts have stated that because they were held harmless, they should not have to be prorated. That is their thinking. When that happens, there's only so big a piece of pie, and so if one person's pie gets a little bigger, somebody else's gets smaller. We have people on both sides of this issue, but that's exactly right. And in order to get this, it would be fixed if we could get full funding for the formula.
All right.
That's where we're back to. If we can finally get full funding for the formula, we're back to where we need to be.
And Mike, we have a big event coming up on Tuesday in Jefferson City, our annual MSBA Legislative Forum, and that's an important event for us, isn't it?
Oh, that's great. It's very correct. Our members need to get here and talk face-to-face with their representatives. There are numerous bills that are out there. Several bills are being heard this week and affect our boards and our members. So it's extremely important that they're here, that they come and listen to what is going on, and that they go and talk to their representatives and senators on how their actions affect people locally.
All right, Mike Reed, thanks a lot as always for being with us. From our governmental relations offices in Jefferson City, we appreciate your insight into developments regarding the General Assembly and legislation impacting our public schools. And we thank you as well for joining us on this edition of MSBA's Capitol Watch.